Earlier we discussed the Gemara's comment that Kanas Abba Yerushalayim is Zoche V'Roa B'Simchasa. That person who mourns for Yerushalayim merits and sees the Simcha of Yerushalayim. We pointed out that it seems to be a strange lashon. It should be Yizke Liros. You will merit to see. What does it mean that in present tense, whoever mourns already now sees the Simcha of Yerushalayim? So perhaps another possible idea, and based on one of the kinos that we said on Tisha B'Av. There's one of the famous kinos which contrasts B'Tzeisim Mitzrayim and B'Tzeisim Yerushalayim. Many communities, they sing it as a tune. It's slightly more upbeat for the B'Tzeisim Mitzrayim, slightly more sad for the B'Tzeisim Yerushalayim. Everything was great when we left Mitzrayim, but then everything was terrible when we left Yerushalayim. Why does the Kina go ahead and contrast these two historical events? Certainly, may well just be because in order to bring out the tragedy. We were at such a great, great state at one point in history, and look how far we've fallen. But perhaps there's something much deeper that the Kina is trying to convey. This is an idea which is discussed by Rav Chaim Friedlander in the Sefer Sifsei Chaim, which I will explain, but I'll express slightly differently than he says. He starts with the Gemara Maseches Ksubos. The Gemara says that in the time of the Churban, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was walking outside of Yerushalayim with his Talmidim, and they came across a woman, and this woman was kneeling and digging in the dung heaps of the donkeys, the excrement, to go ahead and see maybe she could find a kernel of grain that was not digested by the animals, and perhaps she could go ahead and eat that. Horrible sight, to depths to which people can sink. And he said to her, "Who are you?" And she said to him, "Oh, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, you don't remember me? I'm the daughter of Nakdimon ben Gurion. You are Messiah Kedushin." So Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai says to his Talmidim, Nakdimon ben Gurion was one of the richest Jews in Yerushalayim. Look, his daughter is picking through the dung heaps. So Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said, "Ashreichem Yisrael." Great, how praiseworthy you are. And when everything is going great, you're at the top of the world. And when everything is not going great, not only are you the bottom, you're the bottom of the bottom, you're even picking through the dung, not just lower than all the people, you're even lower than the animals. What is this lashon? Ashreichem Yisrael. Ashreichem Yisrael, it's great, it's praiseworthy that when we're on the top of the world, we're on the top. But the fact that when we're on the bottom, we're all the way on the bottom, what's so ashreichem about that? Says Rav Chaim Friedlander the following: the fact that when things are not going well, we sink to the bottom of the bottom, that in and of itself is a reflection of the uniqueness of the Jewish people. It's specifically because we're so unique. It's specifically because we have a particular calling and particular responsibilities and a particular destiny, that when we're on the top, we're on the top of the top. And when we're on the bottom, we're not living up to that call, so then it's that much more disappointing. We're held that much more accountable. And we sink that much lower. Even when we sink so low, we can recognize that the fact that we're so low is a reflection of our unique status. This doesn't happen to anybody. Sometimes people wonder, the Holocaust, doesn't that show that Ch'mon Litzlan, there's no God? L'hevech. Who else does this happen to? Who else does it happen to that the whole world gets together and decides, most of the world get together and decides, let's exterminate them, let's kill them, and millions and millions and millions of innocent men, women, children, not for political reasons, not because they were a threat to anybody, just because they were Jews. This is something which demonstrates that Kadosh Baruch Hu is running the show. Unfortunately, for us, in that particular circumstance, our unique calling led to our being held accountable, or for whatever reason that we can't understand, that Kadosh Baruch Hu saw fit that it was time for a terrible destruction. But within that destruction itself, that in and of itself reflects the fact that the Jewish people is unique, and the Jewish people has a special calling and destiny. Perhaps that's the reason why the Kina contrasts B'Tzeisim Mitzrayim, B'Tzeisim Yerushalayim. Don't forget, B'Tzeisim Yerushalayim, things are terrible, but that's the nature of the Jewish people. B'Tzeisim Mitzrayim, B'Tzeisim Yerushalayim. We're at the top of the world, we're at the bottom. And the reason for that is because of the unique status of the Jewish people. It's interesting to note, this Kina is the only Kina that ends on an optimistic tone. Even the very last Kina that we say, most communities, Eli Tzion, we end with crying, Eli, wail, Jewish people just keep on wailing. We should really cry every single day about the Churban. But this kina, B'tzesim Mitzrayim, B'tzesim Yerushalayim, ends with B'shuvim Yerushalayim, when we come back to Yerushalayim. Why is that? And it's not even the last kina that we say. Perhaps that's the issue here. That because of our unique status, which is in and of itself reflected in the Churban, that in and of itself guarantees that there will be a Shuvim Yerushalayim. And perhaps that's something that can relate to the Gemara that we began with. That Kol HaMizabla Yerushalayim Zoch V'Roa B'Simchasa. It means that a person who is able to mourn for Yerushalayim recognizes that there's something to mourn for. It's not just game over, we're done. There's something to mourn for. Why? Because there's something special. Because we're unique, and because we have a specific destiny and a special calling. And that in and of itself allows a person to realize that there's such a thing as a Nechama. And there will be a Nechama, and that the Nechama even runs through the entire Churban. So today of Tisha B'Av, day of Tisha B'Av is not a day which we can ignore. It's not a day to forget. It gets our attention. It's a sad day. But it's a day when we can realize how unique our calling is, and we can say, okay, if we're so unique, so on the one hand, that's that much more tragic that we're in a state of Churban. On the other hand, if we're so unique, so then we can take control of our destiny. We have greatness around the corner, and it's up to us to make sure that we can turn it from B'tzesim Yerushalayim to Shuvim Yerushalayim. That's possible simply because of the very nature of the day, which emphasizes the uniqueness of the Jewish people.